Guys, in our last video, we showed you how to build this Fortnite Rocket Slammer weapon from the game Fortnite. Well, today we need to finish this up. We need to paint it and make it look the way it does in the game. Before we start adding paint, there's a few more steps we have to take to clean it up and really make it look nice. We've already done a little bit of cleaning using our rotary tool to take down some corners and make them look a little bit nice and rounded. We need to do a little bit more of that. And then this hammer has some interesting engraved sort of portions that go around it. What we're gonna do to make those is take this nail, hold it in a pair of pliers, heat it up with a propane torch, and then use it to slowly melt the designs into the foam. We'll have to be careful we don't melt all the way through because repairing the foam after it's been shaped is kind of tricky. Let's get started with our rotary tool and take down any edges that we want to have a little bit more rounded look. I think all of our engraving lines are now nicely etched into the surface of the hammer, so it's time to move on to the paint preparation. There are some gaps that I don't want in this whole hammer, so one of the steps for our paint prep is applying more of this gallery glass. I used a little bit of this before when I was sealing up some of the cracks, making the front of the head of the hammer, but now it's time to go through and find anywhere that has too much open foam and fill that with a thin layer of this gallery glass. We'll then use a heat gun unload to try and make it dry a little bit faster. And after we do that, we're actually going to hit the whole hammer with the heat gun on high because, as I may have explained before, that helps seal up the foam and make it more ready to take paint. With the foam sealed up, we now need to hit the whole hammer top to bottom with a couple of layers of spray rubber. Part of the body of the hammer and a little bit of the rocket on the back seem to have a little bit of texture. So to simulate that, I'm going to take our same liquid leading. I'm just going to use a paintbrush to apply it in one direction, and I'm hoping that my brush strokes will give it a similar texture to what it looks like it has in the game. With our texture added up here, it's time to add primer from top to bottom. The all-white version of the hammer. It's chiseled out of marble. You know, I'm just very strong. The whole hammer is covered in primer and I'm ready to start applying paint, and it's a little bit of a puzzle because different parts of the hammer are different colors. The whole head here is a sort of very dark, almost black, not quite black, that I'm going to be painting what's called oiled bronze. These attachment flanges and the fins are the same color as the head of the hammer, as is some parts of the back. There's also a black color that will go on the bottom of the handle. There are a few little spots that are going to be a bright blue color, and those ones I know I want to tape off because I actually want to use the white primer as a base for the blue, because the blue is not going to show up as well if I have it dark or silver underneath. Now I'm going to take this oil rub bronze colored spray paint and hit the head of the hammer, the 4 fins around the sides, these 3 supports down at the bottom, and part of the back of the rocket. While spraying that on, it's definitely going to overlap onto parts that need to be more silver colored. What I'm just going to do is paint the parts that need to be this color, and then I'll tape them off and I'll go over it with my silver spray paint to get all the right colors everywhere. Now we gotta let this dry, mask parts of it off, and paint a whole lot of it silver. I've got my tubes that I have not yet painted or attached, and I haven't attached them yet because I thought that having them on already would have gotten in the way of painting some of the rest of the hammer. But let's try and turn these red, and then we can attach them to the hammer after we peel all the tape off. I think our paint is dry. Let's start peeling all of our tape off, and hopefully the masking tape is going to do what it's supposed to and not stick to our paint so much that it peels as well. Right now, I am trying to bleed dry the ink cartridge from a Sharpie that claims to be like a super bright neon blue. And there are brighter colors out there, but they're mostly highlighters, which aren't necessarily as permanent as I want. So I was hoping that by using a permanent marker, I would get something that would really stick forever. I'm not convinced that this color is actually going to be one that I really like. So I'll fill the hopper of the airbrush here and then do a couple of tests and see what I think. The ink from the Sharpie was a pretty good color, but when I put in my airbrush, it sort of started sputtering and splattering just a little bit, and it wasn't a huge problem, but it was enough of a problem that I didn't want to keep using it. So I'm going to toss that out, and instead I'm going to be using this alcohol ink that's used for like stamp making and stuff. I think it does a great job of just going right through an airbrush. It's very thin, and so it does a very good job of spreading nicely. It's a slightly different color with a tiny bit more green to it, but I think that will actually work out nicely. I'm leaving the middle a little bit white just to give it a little bit of that glow effect. While our paint is drying, I think it's time to attach our red hoses. After peeling off the painter's tape from our yellow stripes, that was the last step, and our hammer is now fully painted and completed. There's a lot of steps to painting this, as you saw, but in the end it was all worth it, I think, because this thing looks totally awesome, and I am super happy with how it's turned out. Hey guys, we've still got more for you to see. There's a little box at the top that'll transport you directly to our last video. Go check it out. The box at the bottom is the one that YouTube thinks that you should be watching next. And this bomb here in the middle will subscribe you to our channel so you never get left out again. Don't forget to ring the bell, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you then.